Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a landmark legal case, one that forces us to ask some really difficult questions about love, money, and, well, mistakes.
And that brings us to the big, provocative question at the very heart of this story. Can a healthy child ever be considered legal damage? It's a real-life dilemma that went all the way to the United Kingdom's highest court, and it pits cold, hard economics against the immeasurable value of a human life.
So, let's get into the story. At the center of this storm, you've got two people, Alan and Angela McFarlane. Now, they were a couple who, after having their fourth child, decided their family was complete. They had a plan.
So here's how it all went down. It starts with a pretty routine medical procedure in 1989, but then, a year later, a critical error happens. Mr. McFarlane is told negligently that he's sterile. So, naturally, they trust the doctor's advice. They stop using contraception. And in 1992, something happens that they had taken specific medical steps to prevent.
And this quote from the McFarlanes, wow, it just gets right to the heart of their impossible situation. Of course they were overjoyed with their new baby, Catherine, but at the same time, they were staring down a huge financial strain that they had done everything right to avoid.
So what do? They take the Tayside Health Board to court. And it is so crucial to understand this point. Their lawsuit wasn't about a lack of love, it wasn't about regret, it was purely about the economic reality of raising an unplanned child, a cost that came directly from a doctor's mistake.
The whole case really boiled down to this fundamental conflict. You had the parents on one side saying, look, this is simple. A mistake was made, it cost us money, we should be compensated. And on the other side, you had the health board framing it as a moral issue, arguing you just can't put a price tag on a child.
Okay, let's break down the legal arguments here, because they are fascinating. When it came to negligence, both sides pretty much agreed, yep, the doctor messed up. But then you get to the topic of damages, and boom. They are worlds apart. The McFarlanes were focused on the real, tangible costs, while the health board basically said, hold on, is it morally acceptable for the law to treat a child like a financial liability?
So before I tell you what happened, just think about it for a second. Put yourself in the judge's shoes. How do you possibly balance a clear medical mistake with the immeasurable, intangible joy of a human life? There is absolutely no easy answer here.
You can imagine, right? This case was so complex, so controversial, that it just kept climbing the legal ladder. It ended up before the House of Lords, which at the time was the absolute highest court of appeal in the UK. The country's top legal minds had to figure this one out.
And here it is. The court's final decision was a firm no. The McFarlanes lost their claim for the costs of raising Catherine. But the reason why they lost is what makes this case so incredibly important.
You see, the court's reasoning was really nuanced. They didn't just throw the case out. First, they said, yep, the doctor was definitely negligent. But then, and this is the key part, they ruled that the benefits of having a healthy child are legally considered to outweigh the financial burdens. Interestingly, though, they did give Mrs. McFarlane some money, but only for the physical pain and suffering of the pregnancy itself, separating that from the actual cost of raising the child.
The whole thing really hinged on this big legal idea called public policy. And what that means, in simple terms, is that the law shouldn't make decisions that could be harmful to society as a whole. The judges felt that for the legal system to officially say a healthy baby can be a financial loss, well, that would be a step in the wrong direction. It was a moral line in the sand.
So this verdict wasn't just about one family. Not at all. This decision sent these massive ripples through the legal world, and it set a really powerful precedent that still shapes the law today. What the McFarlane case did was draw a very clear boundary. It basically established that in the UK, you can't sue for the financial cost of raising a healthy child that resulted from negligence. It affirmed this idea that a child is a blessing, not a loss you can calculate on a spreadsheet. And that distinction it created between the cost of upbringing and the physical harm of pregnancy is still studied and debated by lawyers and ethicists everywhere.
So in the end, the McFarlane case doesn't just give us a legal answer. It leaves us with this profound ethical puzzle. The court drew its line, deciding that a child's life could never be a legal loss. But it forces all of us to ask, where should that line be drawn between a doctor's mistake and a parent's responsibility? It's a question with no easy answer.